Okay.
All right. Well, good afternoon again. I hope everyone had a great start to their week and a good Monday. Today's tax day, so hopefully everyone got taxes done. My name is Meredith, and I'm a dietetic and nutrition intern with Kaiser University. And today I'll be discussing eating healthy while staying on a budget. Now, this is something I'm really passionate about talking about because so often I hear how unaffordable it is to eat healthy while sticking to that budget. So I do ask during the presentation today that you keep you need to ask questions till the end, just because I don't want to miss anything throughout the presentation. I will be asking questions and I want you guys to respond in the chat box. So if you do have a specific question, it's best to just leave it to the end just so to make sure I can answer it. So now we'll go to the chat box. I want to know how many of us have ever said the phrase, eating healthy is too expensive. Now, I know this is something that I've said a lot in the past. I didn't always study nutrition. So I didn't really understand what eating healthy exactly was or what it could look like for me. But now I have a better understanding. So I'm hoping I can give you guys a better understanding as well. So, has anyone ever said this? I can respond to the chat box. Okay. We got response. I'm not alone. All right. So today we'll be going over planning, especially when it comes to checking the sales, making a menu from the sales, making a grocery list from that menu, and when you're doing that, consider buying within season. We'll also get into looking at protein options, reinventing leftovers, checking out some local farmers markets near you, and we'll just scratch the subject of gardening and just get to some little tips and benefits about it, just so this summer we get a better idea of when we dive into gardening some more. So when it comes to planning, I don't mean planning out every single thing that you're going to eat. That's when things can really start to get overwhelming for us. Instead, just try to keep it simple. Um, Check those sales, keep it simple. Just check sales, make your menu, make your grocery list, and then buy within season. So when you're checking the sales, this is something that can be extremely beneficial. But before that, I want to get a better idea of which stores you guys get your groceries from. So if you guys could just type in the chat box which grocery store you really go to, I want to get a better idea of it. Oh, it's echoing. Oh man, did you guys hear my last question? By chance? All right, so so when it comes to planning and checking the sales, that's something we really want to do. And nowadays, it's simple because you can do it from your phone or your computer. You don't actually have to go there and pick up that paper packet that shows you all the sales and circle which ones you want from there. That's something my mom used to do. And some of you might already do that, check it out online. So instead of so some of you guys might check sales online and maybe you go to 4 different stores throughout your days to make sure that you get the best price for every item that you're getting. But what you're not thinking about is maybe all the gas that you're spending when you're going from store to store to store, and maybe you're not thinking about all the time that you're spending when you're going to driving from store to store, checking out at every store. That really cuts back on time that you can spend with your family. So maybe just going to one and not and getting all the items there, and you're gonna end up saving just as much or more just by doing it because you're not constantly traveling around getting the best deal. Now, another way that you can save money is getting those digital coupons. A lot of stores have it online, so where you have your account and you can load coupons straight onto your account, and then when you get to the store, you just put in your phone number and all your coupons get loaded. And that's just, it's so much simpler than, having to put out every single coupon, taking that pack or taking that pack of coupons to store with you and having the cash registered, scan every single one of them. Another thing to look for while looking at sales is looking for those BOGO sales, the buy one, get one free sales. Those are amazing, especially when it comes to items that you and your family use often. So it's still echoing pretty bad. Charlotte, should I keep going?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the thing is, Carly's the office. She has it recording, so that's why it's echoing.
Okay.
I hear it too.
Can you hear what I'm saying now?
When you speak in longer sentences, it's hard to hear you because you see how I'm saying it, like it overlaps the new thing you're trying to say.
Okay. All right. I'll speak in shorter sentences. Okay. So back to BOGO deals. So some non-perishable items that you might find on sale are pasta sauces, cereals, rice, beans, lentils, canned beans. Those are all good items to buy when on sale. Another thing to buy on sale is an extra bag of frozen fruits or vegetables. And a lot of the time, these items don't get the recognition they deserve because they're frozen. But flash frozen produce actually has a lot more than some of the produce that you'll find on the shelves at the grocery store because of the way that they are processed. They're picked, they're quickly blanched, and then they're flash frozen. And that helps it retain all of its nutrients and it keeps it from decaying. So now that you know what's on sale, you can write out a menu. And this doesn't have to be in detail where you know every single thing that you're going to be eating throughout the week. And it doesn't have to be broken down by portion sizes or macronutrient content. Maybe just write out what you want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I wrote on the side there just like a menu, overnight oats with peanut butter and strawberries, pecan chicken salad sandwich, and cod with lemon and garlic, butter sauce, couscous, and green beans. So another good thing to think about when planning your menu is planning to go out to eat. I know towards the end of the week, I'm going to be really tired. So if I'm being honest, cooking is not my top priority. So I make sure to plan out to either eat that or going out to eat that day or ordering out to eat that day. And then in the beginning of the week, because I know that I have that leeway, I'll have motivation to cook in the beginning of the week. Now, another backup plan you can have is buying frozen meals. I know a lot of people have given them a bad rap in the past because they were loaded with fat, calories, and sodium. But over time, they've really evolved. So there's brands like Lean Cuisine, Healthy Meals, Smart Choice. Those are just a few brands that have good items. You can usually find the meal for around 300 to 400 calories and about 800 milligrams of sodium. And the FDA recommends not exceeding around 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day for a healthy American. Now, if you do have high blood pressure, they recommend not exceeding over 1,500 milligrams per day. Oh, the echoing stopped. Yay.
Okay, yeah, the echoing stopped. So we apologize, everyone. Go ahead, finish up, and then we'll go from there. Sorry, everyone. We're working with what we have. Sorry about that.
It happens. So a good thing about having that frozen meal in my freezer is it's my backup plan, and it really helps cut back on stress. So there are plenty of days that the unexpected happens where I either work too long or I'm too tired or I completely just burnt dinner. So I'm reaching for that frozen meal. And maybe it's because I worked too, like maybe I burnt dinner in the first place because I was too tired from working too long. So knowing that I have that backup plan, that plan B, the frozen meal, it really helps just cut back on the stress because not every day is going to happen how I expect it to. So now we'll get into price comparison. So on the left, I have the overnight oats recipe written out and broken down by ingredients and how much the total would be for one serving. And on the right, I have the McDonald's pricing for their oatmeal for one serving. As you can see, the prices are close, but the overnight oats are still cheaper. And another thing that another thing I'm not including in the McDonald's pricing is if you're getting anything else besides that oatmeal, because most of the time you're probably grabbing oatmeal and a coffee or oatmeal and some hash browns and a coffee. So it's not including everything else. And that price also isn't going to include the gas that you're spending to drive there every morning, the time it takes to drive there every morning, and it doesn't take into account, the stress that you might have to leave your house earlier just so you can get breakfast to make it on get to work on time. And you're also not able to personalize it to your favorite flavors when it comes to, staying consistent with eating a healthy diet. Eating foods that you actually enjoy will help you stay consistent. Whereas if you let's say you don't like all the fruit and nuts that they put in that oatmeal, and that's what you're trying to make yourself eat every morning, probably by day 3 or 4, maybe day 2, you're going to say, nope, I want the English muffin with ham, egg, and cheese on it. So now I want to jump into the nutrient comparison between the two items. So I have McDonald's oatmeal on the left, and then I have strawberry peanut butter overnight oats on the right. So as you can see, you're going to get more bang for your buck when it comes to the strawberry overnight oats. It has more calories in it, but it also has more fiber, more protein, more unsaturated fat, more calcium, and those are all good things. It also has less sodium, and it has less sugar in it. So if you're someone who is dealing with diabetes or maybe high blood pressure, this would be the better option for you. Now, since this is a super high fiber meal, and if you're not, I suggest drinking a lot of water with it, especially if you're not someone who doesn't consume this much fiber. When it comes to fiber, you want to slowly increase your intake. It's not something you want to just, eat what you're supposed to eat if you're someone who's been eating like way below where they need to be eating. So with fiber, just slowly and steady increase it. So in order to bring this fiber content down, you can easily just remove like instead of putting 2 tablespoons of flaxseed in there, just put 1 in there, and it'll help cut down on that fiber a little bit. So now getting into making a grocery list. So since you guys can hear me, if you can type in the chat box if you're still someone who makes a grocery list. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay, awesome. Same. I am someone who cannot go to the grocery store without a grocery list because then I get so overwhelmed. And that is the one place where I'm like type A. I make my grocery list by like sections of the grocery list, and put it in order by like how I'm going to walk through the grocery list. But that's just so I don't get overwhelmed in there. So some tips when you're making your grocery list is you want to check your fridge and your cabinets first. Now, you want to do this for 2 reasons. One, you don't want to make unnecessary unnecessary purchases. So let's say you plan on making rice and beans for dinner throughout the week. So you go to the store without checking your cabinets and you buy like 5 cans of beans. But then you get home and you realize that you still had over from last week. So you don't want to, there's no need to like buy that much again. And then you also don't want to forget that forget items. So I've done this a few times when I don't check my cabinets first or my fridge first. Sometimes I think I have a bag of frozen vegetables in my freezer still, and I plan on making soup with them later on in the week. And then while I'm making soup, I go to pull out that bag of vegetables and it's not there. So now I have to stop what I'm doing, go to the grocery store and grab it, or send my husband to the grocery store to grab it before dinner's done so I can throw them in there. So it helps you avoid from buying duplicate items, and it helps you not forget items. Another thing that the grocery list is for is you cut down the time that you're spending in the grocery store just walking around wondering if you got everything. I used to do that constantly, like, oh, do I like, did I get everything? Did I have that? Did I get this? Like, and it would kind of stress me out a little bit. So once I have my list and I have everything checked off or I have it scratched off, I know that I'm good to go. And what's good about a lot of the grocery stores now that have those digital coupons is you can even make your grocery list like right on the app there and click on which items you need to get that day. And then when you go to the grocery store, you can pull it up on your phone and, go through your list that way if you're someone who isn't like pen and paper savvy like me. And then when you have your list, stick to it. That is something that I can't stress enough. It's something you really want to commit to. This just helps you avoid buying those unnecessary products because supermarkets are amazing when it comes to marketing and getting your attention. They always love to put those BOGO donuts like right in the middle of the aisle. So you never, like, you always walk past them. You always see it on sale. And, they always put out products like right in front that have like new advertisement, like saying like they're organic or maybe they're GMO, soy and gluten free. And they're using those buzzworthy words to get your attention. Now, I'm not saying that you can't ever like buy those things. I'm just saying when you stick to your list, maybe you only buy like one or two of those things instead of buying like 5 or 10 of those things. So you save money and you're not buying unnecessary things. Because when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle, you just have to remember it's not about jumping on the next new trend every single time like you see a new news story. It's just about staying consistent with just keeping a balanced diet. Some days are good, some days are bad. But if you just try to balance it out, then that's where you really find success. So now, buying produce when it's in season, that's important to remember because one, when produce is in season, it's less expensive for us and it's less expensive for the farmers to grow it. And that's when that produce is at its peak. It's the most flavorful, it has the best quality, the best ripeness, it looks the best. And when it's not in season, you might notice that it doesn't look that way. Maybe they're smaller. Maybe there's not as much of the item at that store. And maybe that's because the farmer's yielding less now because you're not in season, or maybe they're getting it from somewhere else and that's going to cost you more because of that extra transportation. And that extra transportation is also going to decrease that nutrient content in the produce. So you really want to just try to stick to produce that's within season when you're making your menus and just try to keep that in mind. Now, the USDA does have a seasonal produce guide, and I pasted the summer seasonal produce guide that they shared here. And something I noticed is that, there are a lot of light things on here that we can use to make like light foods that we want to eat during the summer, like smoothies or salads or, things you want to grill. And there are a lot of things on here, like there's berries in here, there's zucchini on here, there's summer squash, there's honeydew melon. Those are all just really good things that you can make any kind of like summer meal with. Feels good. And for the fall and winter seasonal produce list, else I noticed is you get more hearty foods in there, foods that you want to eat like during the winter, so you feel like nice and cozy, and it just feels like nice and good, like potatoes and winter squash and collard greens. So it's just kind of interesting to see how like our seasonal foods kind of like go with our seasonal moods. So now I want to talk about switching up your protein options. So now we're going to write in the chat box again. So I want to know how many of us try to switch out an animal protein source for a plant protein source, maybe at least once a week at the least. So let's just type that in the chat box there. I love that. Now you keep an inventory list. That's smart. occasionally, but not once a week. Okay, that's okay. So that I was kind of expecting that because according to the 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans, adults ages 19 through 59 are actually under consuming when it comes to beans, peas, and lentils. And it's pretty crazy because this food group is packed with so many nutrients. You're getting protein, you're getting fiber, you're getting iron, you're getting B vitamins, you're getting zinc, you're getting folate, you're getting potassium, just so many nutrients. And because it has such a big nutrient content, the beans, peas, or lentils can either count as a vegetable or actually count as a protein source as well. So you can do either or, just not at the same time. You can't have like beans on your plate and say, I'm having a vegetable and a protein. Like if you're having that as your vegetable, you need a protein source. But if that's your protein source, you need another vegetable, and so on. And the great thing about beans, peas, and lentils is they're so affordable, and a lot of them, and they're usually shelf stable. So a bag of lentils can cost you less than $1 at the grocery store, and you can keep that on your shelf for a long time, and it's going to outlast any kind of animal protein that you get. And the good thing about lentils is they're extremely versatile. So on here, you can see that I have lentil lasagna, and I also have lentil soup. Those are just a couple things on there. And then when it comes to beans, there's always canned options as well, which are great because when they're on sale, you can stock up on them, get all the ones you want. And not only do canned items cut down on the cooking time, it's also sometimes they actually have reduced sodium canned options for beans. If you're trying to make a heart healthy meal, consider the low sodium options or the lower sodium options, and go with those ones, just so you don't have to, make it from scratch. Cause I know that can take a while. Some other things that you guys might not have thought about that you can do with lentils and peas and beans is that you can actually go towards the sweet side with this. So they have a dark chocolate hummus that I love getting at Publix. It's one of my favorite sweet things to eat because I have a huge sweet tooth, and I can just like dip strawberries in there or bananas in there, and it's amazing. But at the end of the day, I'm eating chickpeas with dark chocolate cocoa powder, and it tastes like I'm eating chocolate frosting sometimes. And then there's also black bean brownies, which are tasty, and you don't taste the black beans, you just taste the chocolate and how just silky and delicious it is. So something I want to challenge you guys with is just to try a new recipe with beans, peas, or lentils. Go savory or go sweet, or maybe go on a snack side and like blend some beans up and do like a bean hummus dip or something, just find another way to use it. So now we're going to get into using those leftovers and giving them new meaning. Now, chances are, if I have leftover food and I don't eat it for lunch today, I'm going to be throwing it out within the next 3 or 4 days. And that is just extremely heartbreaking to me because 30 to 40% of the food supply in this country is wasted. And it's even more heartbreaking to know that almost 42 million people experienced food insecurity last year because of the pandemic, which means they have no idea where their next meal is coming from, and they have no idea how they would even access food. And so many of those people were children. They had no idea where their next meal was coming from. So the next time you have leftovers and you think about stirring them out, maybe try getting creative first. Maybe look up some options online. I know I don't always have the best creativity when it comes to, finding new things to make. So I always go to Pinterest and I can just type in like leftover ideas or what to do with leftovers. And you can find so many different options that way. So some ideas you may not have thought of, if you have some leftover beans or chicken, maybe you want throw it into some tortilla chips and make nachos, or maybe you want to make some tacos with it. You can add in some peppers and onions and cilantro and just like really spice it up that way, give it some new meaning. So it elevates it more than just leftover beans or chicken. And you can add, some fat in there, add in some fat in there like cheese, and, really get that balanced meal. If you have a bunch of leftover vegetables in your drawer and you just don't know what to do with them, think about just throwing them in a crock pot and just making like a vegetable soup. And, within the next 5 or 6 hours, you have soup, and maybe you have like a carbohydrate and a protein with it. And maybe you have enough to take to work the rest of the week, and then you can have like a soup and sandwich for work, and you have that balanced meal, and you're not going out spending that money to go eat lunch out every day because you have what you made. And it's not like you're really meal prepping because this is kind of like leftover. So it's kind of like a win-win-win. And maybe if you have some stale bread, I used to throw mine out all the time. So I was like, what am I going to do with this? It's stale bread. Uh, so maybe you want to cut it up into cubes and turn it into croutons. You can get like really creative with it. Throw some Italian seasoning on there, throw on some like garlic powder, give it some flavor so it's not just bread, and it's not like you're adding salt in there, so you don't have to worry about like increasing the sodium content. If you don't want to really make croutons, maybe you want to go towards the breakfast end of it and use that stale bread to do like a French toast bake. Cut it up, mix it in, make the mix with milk and eggs, and add spices in there. Add your cinnamon, add your nutmeg, add your vanilla, and mix it all together. Pour it in there, bake it off, and then if you, in order to make it balanced, add some fresh fruit on top. If you increase your protein, add a side of Greek yogurt on the side. So you're getting extra protein in there, and you're also getting some essential vitamins that you need from that. So those are just a few ways that you can, take those leftovers, or maybe those foods that you would just, naturally throw away. You can really use them and give them a new meaning instead of just letting them go to the dump. So farmers markets. This farmers markets are something that I really like. My mom actually used to go to produce stands all the time when I was in high school. I didn't really realize why until I got older, and now I go to farmers markets. So there's a lot more nutrient dense options there. Why? Because you're cutting down on transportation. A lot of the farmers markets are going to get local produce. So that means that produce isn't coming from out of state. It's not coming from different countries. It's coming from right here. So it's not going to, take 3 days to get there on a truck. It's going to take like a few to get there. And it's not going to lose all those nutrients. And you're also going to be supporting local jobs, local communities, and you're supporting those local farmers, which is supporting that farm stand, which is help supporting the people who work there. And it just all goes hand in hand. And the good thing about farmers markets nowadays is that they actually, a lot of them are starting to accept SNAP benefits. So if that's something that keeps you going to the grocery store to get your produce there, maybe think about checking out your local farmers market, seeing if they have like SNAP benefits there, and going there for your produce. So now I'll get into starting a garden and just some benefits when it comes down to it. Starting something that I really enjoy doing. The past few years I've attempted it. This was my first year that I actually grew food, that I was successful in growing food. I attempted last year to grow food and it didn't happen. But this year I got one cherry tomato and I have a few more coming in. So that's progress. But there are a lot of benefits when it comes to gardening besides the money aspect of it. So it cuts down on our screen time. And within this past year, I know a lot of us have really increased our screen time because everything has pretty much gone virtual. And, you're working virtually, you're doing events virtually, and it's when you're doing that, maybe you're on social media virtually, like, or maybe you're watching TV and it's just like screen after screen after screen. So when you're gardening, it really helps cut down on that screen time. And it's also going to get you physically active. Now, as Americans, like during the pandemic, the average American gained over 20 pounds. And that's mainly because, we stopped moving. A lot of us became sedentary. So, gardening get us out there again. It gets us physically active without a huge demand from us. It's not like high impact exercises. It's just getting you out, it's getting you moving, and your body enjoys just being out there. Another thing it also helps with is mindfulness, just being more self-aware of what you're doing, everything that's going on around you. When you're in there, you have all of your senses working. So you're touching dirt, you're seeing it, you're smelling it, or you're smelling like everything around you. You can hear the wind, the birds chirping by you, maybe the squirrels by you. You can hear all that. So you're not focused on like a huge to-do list that you might have, or you're not focused on like the next few things that you have to get done this week. You're focused on that moment. And it's really good to have those mindful moments. So another benefit is vitamin D. And the good thing about vitamin D is it has so many benefits for our body, especially when it comes to our mental health. And the crazy thing is vitamin D isn't really naturally found in that many foods. It's found in a handful, but not that many foods. So a lot of our foods are fortified with vitamin D. But our bodies are really freaking amazing, and can actually make vitamin D from sunlight. All you really need to do, a good rule of thumb, is to get like the palm of your hand, like expose it without protection, no sunblock, no shade, nothing, no gloves. Expose it for about 10 to 15 minutes a day, and your body can absorb that vitamin D, or absorb the sunlight, make vitamin D, and store it. Now, we can only store a certain amount of vitamin D. So don't go out like with a bikini on and just try to lay out in the sun for 5 hours to absorb all the vitamin D you can, because you have a limit. So when you're past, when you have your sun exposure for those 10, 15 minutes, think about putting on some sunblock, maybe wearing a hat and some sunglasses, just some protection from the sun, because here in Florida, it's about to be summer months and that sun is going to be intense here. I'm going to take a drink of water. So some more benefits about gardening are the easy access to food. Everything's right in your backyard. You're going from your backyard, which is your farm, to table. And because you're doing that, you're getting more nutrient dense options, because you're essentially cutting out the middleman, or you're essentially cutting out everyone because you're the farmer now. But you're cutting out all the transportation, all the time that it takes to be cut, to be moved, to sit on shelves. Like, you're going straight from farm to table. And that is probably like the freshest that you can get produce. Now, another good thing about this is it really helps get kids involved. They love playing in the dirt. They love doing what like mom and dad are doing. So when they you doing that, they want to get involved, and to see plants grow from this tiny little seed, they're really tiny most times, grow into this insane plant that produces so much food. They're going to be so proud of that and so excited about that. So this is just another way to get them involved, but then they're also more likely to eat their food because they made that. And that's just like a win-win. Your kid's excited about, growing vegetables and fruits, and they're also excited about eating it. And to get a kid excited about eating vegetables, not easy. And I'm sure most of you know that. Now, there are affordable ways to garden, and I'm going to just talk about it a little bit. So some starting tips that you can get if you're just starting out is just starting to collect the seeds that you eat now. Especially if it's something that's common that you eat. Let's say you eat cucumbers every week or you eat tomatoes every week, when you collect those seeds, one, you don't have to buy it from Home Depot or wherever you get your seeds from. So it's saving money there. And then two, you're no longer buying those items at the grocery store once you've grown your food. So you save money there. Now you can also there's so many different DIY projects you can do in upcycling, because I know in Florida, we don't have the best soil to just grow food straight out of the dirt or straight out of like our dirt, because it's really sandy here. So there are a lot of projects you can do to create raised garden beds, and DIY projects are amazing to, get the family involved and to get them excited about this. And upcycling, it's great for the environment, but it's another project to get the family involved. And it's kind of just like taking an ordinary object, let's say like an old dresser drawer, and turning that into like a raised garden bed. So it's thinking out of the box when it comes to upcycling. Now, you can also go to some thrift stores to look for your materials, like Goodwill and the Salvation Army. A lot of the times they're going to have those materials there, and it's going to be a lot less expensive. And honestly, when it comes to gardening supplies, I don't buy brand new. I know when I go home, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to use it to move dirt or play in dirt with it. So there's no need to buy something bright and shiny if I'm just going to go put it in dirt. Some other good tools that you might want when starting off are a garden trowel, some pruning shears, gloves, a bow rake, and a shovel. Now, yard sales are also a great spot where you can find some of these simple tools. And I also shared a photo from Amazon. They have like a little starter kit where you can get all of these items for just $27. So it's a little starter kit. It's pretty inexpensive, and it has all the tools that you're going to need just to get started with, because it's not something that you don't have to buy everything all at once. So, do I have any questions?
A lot of good information, a lot of good ideas. Thank you. Gave a lot of good information. And actually, this summer we're doing Get Growing and Get Going. So she gave a little few tips about gardening, but this summer we will be going a little bit deeper into gardening and trying to get people to start um, growing their own produce. So thank you for that tidbit of information on gardening. But very good ideas, especially with the vegetables and repurposing them and using them in different ways. Black bean brownies are really, really good. If you haven't had them, Google a recipe, try it. I know it sounds, but it really is good. And when I tried it, um, she didn't tell us what we were eating until after we devoured it. And then she was like, could anyone guess what's in it? And I'm like, black beans. So definitely change it up and try different ways to use vegetables and get creative. That's what it's about, right? Getting creative and having fun with food. So any questions? Lentil lasagna is awesome, Paula said. Paula, when I saw her picture of lentil lasagna, I was like, I don't know what it is, but it looks good. And I'm going to try and trick my family into just eating lasagna and not knowing that it's lentils. Looks really good.
I have made lentil lasagna for so long, and
Really?
people have, this is like, I have made lentil lasagna since like 30 years, and people always confuse it because you can kind of disguise it a little bit like beef. And they always like love it, and then I don't want to tell them right away So then after I know they've eaten it, then I tell them, you just had lentil lasagna.
Oh
So
my God.
just so you know, it's really good too.
I do the same thing. I'll make it and I won't tell anyone what it's actually made out of until they're done.
Okay, I'm gonna go find me a lentil lasagna recipe.